Hi everyone and welcome back to Splash Page. For Game of Thrones TV watchers, Catelyn Stark died at the Red Wedding with her son Robb and a number of Northmen. In the book, Catelyn Stark similarly died at the Red Wedding, but then her body is thrown into the river, where it floats for a few days until it's stumbled upon by the Brotherhood without banners. Yes, these guys. Chiefly Thoros of Myr and Beric Dondarrion. Beric then revives Catelyn Stark by sacrificing himself, using the magic of the Red God R'hllor. She's horribly disformed due to the injuries she received at the Red Wedding. Her throat is still slit. She has long gashes underneath her eyes, where in her horror, she ripped her own skin with her nails before she was killed. And then finally, she was thrown into the river, and her body was left in the river for several days. With Beric now officially dead, Catelyn takes over leadership of the Brotherhood without banners and is named Lady Stoneheart. But you probably knew that considering you clicked on this video. What I will attempt to do is explain why I think George R. R. Martin brought Catelyn back from the dead. In fantasy book series as dense and as intricate as A Song of Ice and Fire, you know you will encounter a number of twists and turns. In Book 1 alone, we lose Ned to a headsman, Robert Baratheon to a boar, and Bran is paralyzed, showing us that this story has real stakes for the characters and no one is safe. Another thing you already know is that the book series isn't finished. The last book, A Dance of Dragons, came out in 2011, which marked the 5th book in what is going to be a 7-book series. At the end of Dance, so many of our favorite characters lie dead. But George didn't bother to bring any of those other characters back. Both Robb and Ned are killed, Joffrey, the Red Viper, Tywin. We assume he's going to bring back Jon Snow as they did in the show, but why did he bring back Catelyn after such an emotional end to her character? The easiest answer is revenge. Once Catelyn becomes Lady Stoneheart, there is very little of the original character left. Catelyn was strong, fierce, caring woman and mother, but Lady Stoneheart is a rage-bent monster. So much so that Thoros says, "The phrase slashed her throat from ear to ear. When we found her by the river, she was 3 days dead. Harwin begged me to give her the kiss of life, but it had been too long. I would not do it. So Lord Beric put his lips to hers instead, and the flame of life passed from him to her. And she rose. May the Lord of Light protect us, she rose." But can you blame her for wanting revenge? Upon her death at the Twins during the Red Wedding, Catelyn thought her entire family was lost to her. Ned was killed in King's Landing, Robb was killed in front of her just moments before her own throat was cut. Bran and Rickon were killed by Theon, but really Bran is in the north with the three-eyed crow, and Rickon is believed to be on the island of Skagos. Arya is missing and assumed dead, but really training with the Faceless Men in Braavos. And Sansa is married to a Lannister. Her crusade to kill anyone associated with the Red Wedding and anyone that betrayed the Starks makes sense. It makes perfect sense. And it's all fun and games until she encounters Brienne. Before that, we root for Lady Stoneheart because she's killing Freys, Lannisters, and I would assume Boltons if she got her hands on any. And we hate those families. But we just spent a full book watching and learning to love Brienne. Brienne's long trip with Jaime Lannister really changed both her and Jaime. When we part, Jaime is a better person and more likely sympathetic to his enemies' causes. Jaime gives Brienne one of the Valyrian steel swords made from ice that unfortunately for Brienne has Lannister symbols all over it, which Lady Stoneheart takes as Brienne has switched sides and betrayed her. But we know that's not the case because Brienne is still on her mission to find and protect Catelyn Stark's children, even though Catelyn is long dead, until she's not. In A Feast for Crows, we leave Brienne's character hanging from a tree next to Pod as she yells out a word, which we assume is sword. That means that Brienne has made a promise to Lady Stoneheart to kill Jaime. Then, in Dance of Dragons, we see Brienne show up and meet Jaime in the village of Pennytree. So, did George R. R. Martin solely bring her back to make her a symbol of vengeance? One that shows that revenge isn't the path to go down because it doesn't just hurt the people you were attempting to hurt, but it also hurts the people you love? Maybe. But only bringing her back to do violence in an already extremely violent story seems small. Don't get me wrong, it's a lot of fun, and revenge is what she has done so far. But what if he brought her back not only for revenge, but redemption? I know. Catelyn was a beloved character who made some mistakes, but overall did all she could to protect her family. However, there is one thing about Catelyn that never sat well with fans, and that is her hatred of Jon Snow, the bastard of Ned Stark, her husband, and a woman that Ned would never tell her about. Upon Catelyn's death, she never found out the truth about Jon. They never reconciled under the knowledge that he was actually her nephew, the son of Ned's sister, Lyanna Stark, and Rhaegar Targaryen, not the bastard of Ned. Of course, this isn't confirmed in the books yet, but the show made it clear, and the R plus L equals J theory has been around for 20 years. And this is where I think George is bringing her story. The emotional range that Kat would go through if she found out Jon wasn't actually Ned's son would be amazing to write. That realization and then the resolution between the two characters is something that's almost a sin not to have in these books. Why do I think we will get some level of resolution in Catelyn and Jon's storyline while George seems okay letting other characters just die and disappear one after the other? Well, there are a number of reasons. First, we know before the death of Robb, he named Jon his heir. Robb was under the impression that his brothers, Bran and Rickon, were dead. He also knew that Sansa was forced to marry Tyrion, and Arya was MIA. Without an heir, his newly formed kingdom was at risk. Robb legitimizing Jon and naming him his heir was a big blow to Catelyn's pride and ego, but it was done. Robb let Catelyn, Edmure Tully, Great John Umber, Jason Mallister, Mage Mormont, and Galbert Glover witness the signing of the succession plan. They were then dispersed throughout the realm. Two of them, Mage Mormont and Galbert Glover, were sent to Helen Reed in the Neck. The Neck is as far south as the Kingdom of the North touches. Helen Reed also happens to be the only surviving person from the fight at the Tower of Joy, where Lyanna Stark was taken by Rhaegar Targaryen, and where she died. This means that Helen is likely the only character alive that knows the true parents of Jon Snow. This information is extremely important to the plot of the entire story, and with Catelyn being alive, well, as Lady Stoneheart, it gives George an opportunity to have her learn that information. But Lady Stoneheart isn't in the Neck. She's wreaking havoc in the Riverlands. Well, there's one additional reason for Lady Stoneheart to go to Helen Reed. Lady Stoneheart has Robb's crown. We learned in chapter 42 of A Feast for Crows that Lady Stoneheart has Robb's crown as Brienne sees it in her first encounter with her. It's interesting that George picked to give Lady Stoneheart Robb's crown. It could have been his sword or another personal item, but it's his crown. And, well, crowns have power. A crown can make a king. Most assume Melisandre will revive Jon Snow as she does in the show. And that makes the most sense based on the geography of where everyone is in Westeros and the fact that winter is coming. Melisandre also believes in the Red God R'hllor, so it makes sense that she would be able to use her magic to revive him. Although I'd hate to see what she would need to do to get that power. However, what if a ship sails from the Neck to the Wall carrying Howland Reed, Mage Mormont, Galbert Glover, and Lady Stoneheart? And then Lady Stoneheart gives the kiss of life, like she received from Beric, and that is what brings Jon back. This might be a little too perfect of an ending for Song of Ice and Fire. We don't tend to get happy endings or endings that are more typical story tropes. But I do think Lady Stoneheart finds out about Jon's parents, and then she helps him in some way. to make up for the way she treated him during life. Let us know what you think about this theory down in the comments. If you're interested in more theories from Game of Thrones, House of Dragons, and The Song of Ice and Fire, please follow and like our channel, as we'll be doing a bunch more deep dives on these topics. Also in our description is a link to buy A Song of Ice and Fire audiobook and paperback copies on Amazon. This is our promotional link, so if you click on it and buy the audiobook or the paperbacks, our channel will be compensated, but at no additional cost to you. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. Take it easy, YouTube.